Hey, friends, and welcome to the Genius Way Show. I am your host, Ben Hummel, and it's great to have you here with me today as we talk about the topic of the day, which is creativity. How to reference your own creativity in your life. And so, one of the things we got to kind of tackle right off the bat is, where does creativity come from in the individual? How does that show up? How does one access it? Because if there's one thing that feels like the most inconsistent part of being a human being, is knowing when and how to get in touch with a creative aspect of yourself at will. Is that even possible? Because if you think about, all the artists you've ever heard of, the poets, the songwriters, the actors, anybody that creates something, they all have a different way of kind of attracting their muse, attracting something that brings out the creativity. They all have different um, processes to access their creativity. So before we get into that on the individual, what we have to do is kind of take a big look, pan back, big step back, and see um, what is the environment that we find ourselves in. So one of the greatest things that we need to kind of look at when in terms of creativity is how in the world are we even here in the first place? We are sitting here on a big old ball spinning through space with no physical support. The earth is spinning so quickly, and we're not falling off because of that spinning, and there's all the science behind it, but it's basically floating out in space unsupported. From where we can see, even with our best telescopes, we kind of think at this point that the universe is infinite. All right, so think about that for 1 second. You're living in an infinite universe. That means there's no end to it. No end to it. And we have no idea what is out there beyond what our telescopes can see. And, you know, we actually concern ourselves every day with, like, oh, I'm paying the rent. This person snubbed me. I wish I had a better job. We get bogged down with these things. They're all important things. They have to be dealt with. But meanwhile, we're living in this mystery that we don't understand. None of us do. Even the best mathematicians and physicists, they don't understand it. They have theories. So we have to kind of be okay with the fact that we're living in a mystery right now. And how this deals with creativity is that you look at this mystery. Take, for instance, some of the images from those, the space telescopes, and you see unbelievably beautiful, creative, weird, zany, crazy looking stuff out there in the universe. And it's all kind of creative, isn't it? It's all expressive. You look around you anywhere in nature, you see that there is creativity going on. Go, if you're going to go buy a Christmas tree this year, if you celebrate that, you're going to go and you're going to find all these different sizes and shapes. None are exactly the same. Somehow, nature doesn't duplicate these things. Even snowflakes, as you know, they're all different. So it's all coming from this creative mystery. Everything that you see around you, everything you encounter, it's in this deep, creative, expressive mystery. And now you have to think about, well, what about me? How am I part of that? And the thing is, we are. Just by our very nature, and forget about religion or any of that thing, forget about philosophy, we're here in the middle of this mystery as part of the mystery ourselves. This is part of the mystery. This is part of the existential expression. Whatever you want to call it, whatever your orientation in, doesn't matter. You're here, we are here, and we are living in this mystery. The deepest science that we can possibly get to will always point to, and then we don't know. You go down the equation about this, what's happening here, and why is this happening, and then we don't know. Then it has to turn into a theory, right? So it's going to kind of remain a mystery for a good amount of time. So to connect to the creativity in yourself is to connect to that mystery and to be able to kind of live in that mystery that we're already in, but doing it in a conscious way. So a lot of the great artists had to learn how to contact or connect with that mystery in themselves. And, I think my work here with the Genius Way is just about that, because the interface between the individual and that creative aspect of existence is the concept of genius. That's our interface. Every person is born with a genius, and that is your collection of unique gifts, talents, skills, predispositions, leanings, callings, whatever you want to say. You have something in particular that no one else has. Okay, and it's not about being better than anyone else. It's just it's about being uniquely yourself. Being uniquely yourself, and kind of bringing your flavor of that mystery forward into your self-expression. Not because you're trying to be fancy. It's not about being fancy. This is about you being authentic. Your individuality, your creativity, your genius expression, we all need it. All of us need all of us to be authentically ourselves. Because if you look around, again, I'm looking right now at some trees. There's some palm trees. There's an apple tree. There's some philodendrons. There's lots of things outside my window. Those things aren't trying to be anything other than what they are. And being what they are is what makes them beautiful, what makes them unique and important in this little landscape that I'm taking a look at. Same thing with us humans. The world needs us to be here as we are. And we get sidetracked from that very, very, very early on, when, we kind of get indoctrinated into whatever society that we find ourselves in. And we learn early on, oh, you're not fitting in. You're not this good. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not beautiful enough. Something. Okay. It's always coming from a lack. Whereas the best way to be introduced into this is to learn to embrace one's individuality. And again, in the current structure, that's not really a thing. So to get in touch with your creativity is to use your genius as the interface between this mysterious universe and the individual that you are now, that is always in a state of changing and always in a state of flux. So one thing to do to get in touch with your genius, which is, again, your interface with creativity, is to see, by taking a really close look at how things feel to you when you feel inspired to create something, when you feel inspired just to do something. So let's take an example. You can take a look at right here. Look at my logo here. When I had the idea for the logo, I didn't know it was going to look like that, but I knew how I wanted it to feel. And that Vitruvian man with his hands and legs outstretched, and being within a circle with that compass, I wanted to have all these elements there that kind of talk about individual self-expression, that point to connection with the universe. And this thing has all those elements in there. But first, I had to start with the feeling. I had to start with the feeling of what I'm trying to say with the logo for my work, the Genius Way. Okay, and the feeling was that, like those three things: connected to the universe, connected to existence, having a compass pointing in a certain direction, and being contained within that circle of existence, basically. Okay, so those were the feelings that I started with. And so for you, when you're wanting to create something, it's important to, before you start, let's say you're a painter, before you start, what is the feeling you're trying to convey? What does it feel like to be, what is the feeling? Are you melancholy? Are you wanting to express some kind of joy? Are you wanting to express, heartfelt feelings? Whatever that is, you start with the feeling, and your genius will then be kind of triggered to manifest something to express that feeling. The genius is the area, it's your fund of expressive energy that has the raw materials for you to express yourself as yourself. So let's say you have a feeling of, I want to express, brother and sisterhood of human beings. You can have that feeling, your neighbor can have that feeling, somebody halfway around the world can have that feeling. You're going to get three different pieces of creativity. One's going to start a fund for, international peace. One person's going to paint a painting. The other person might write a piece of music. The other person might walk down the street and make friends with somebody that they don't know. Everybody's going to have their unique thing, and these uniquenesses, this unique quality that comes out of your genius, which is your interface with the mysterious universe, that expression is yours to express. No one else is going to be able to do it. No one else needs to do it, but you do. If you get deep enough into your feeling self in terms of creativity, you're going to feel a need to express yourself. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I've discovered working with people, coaching them on expressing their genius, is that when you get to a point where you feel like this self-expression, this is a need. This is not some kind of silly dream. I have an existential need to express myself in this way. And it's like, it's not a job, but it is kind of like a responsibility. Just like the apple tree has a responsibility just to be an apple tree and produce the apples. It has no business looking at the coconut tree next to it and producing coconut dates. It's just not going to happen. So, not a coconut tree, the palm tree producing dates. What's a coconut date? I don't know. So each one of these things have their purpose and their uniqueness, and the world needs that. It needs that from them. And the apple tree can't do it for the coconut or for the palm tree. Palm tree can't do it for the apple tree, and vice versa. It just can't happen. So same thing for you. We need you to be as you are. The world needs you to be present with your uniqueness, to show up with the things that you have, that you've been born with, that need to be uncovered, and to see how those things are a gift to the world that you find around you. So back to the mystery that we're living in. So, we can't figure out this mystery. Mystery is not like a riddle. Why does the chicken cross the road? It's kind of a riddle. What's the riddle of the Sphinx? What walks on four legs in the morning, two legs in the afternoon, and three legs at night? That's the riddle of the Sphinx. So the universe is not a riddle. It's a mystery. A mystery is different than a riddle is because the mystery is not to be solved. It's to be lived in. It's to be integrated, and it's to be shared in when you express the mystery of what you are. Okay? And so to appreciate that we live in a mystery that can't be solved or figured out, we live in a mystery that needs to just be kind of included in our daily awareness of who we are and what's happening here. No matter what you say, if you're going to go to the office today, if you're going to the gym, if you're, raising your child, you're doing that and you're living in a mystery as well at the same time. And the mystery is not going to be figured out, and you're not going to have an answer to it. The mystery is so profound that the only thing we can do is consciously acknowledge it, acknowledge that we don't know, and live in it as part of ourselves. So don't forget, you are this mystery too. It's not like, oh, the apple tree and the palm tree, they grow out of the mystery of existence, but not me. I'm here struggling to pay my bills, and I'm here worrying about my godchild, and I'm here left alone to deal with these things by myself in this cold universe. No, we are part of this mystery too. We can't be anything else. We are part of it. And so while you're doing your life, remembering that you're part of this mystery will allow you that access to express from there. And then the expression that you give is not going to be coming from your thoughts. It's going to be coming from a deep connection with the mystery of, the universe and your interface with it, which is your genius. Your genius is a fund of expressive energy. You have it. You've been born with it. It hasn't gone anywhere. It can't go anywhere. You have it. So I want to illustrate this point a little bit about living with the mystery and kind of waking up to that with this next clip. It's from a movie called Joe versus the Volcano. And here Joe has been drifting out at sea for, many, many, many days and nights. And he's kind of stuck. And he is, he's run out of water and he's very close to death. So I want you to take a look at this clip and we'll see you on the other side.
Dear God, whose name I do not know, thank you for my life. I forgot how big thank you. Thank you for my life.
Yeah, I love that clip. Thank you for my life. I forgot how big. Wow. So in this video, we see Joe remembering, whoa, there's a huge universe out here of which I am part. This life kind of comes from that universal expression. And so one of the things we talked about before is that the universe in the existence is creative by nature. It just creates, 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 creates. Okay, why is that? Who knows? That's part of the mystery. It keeps creating things. We are part of that creation. And part of the Genius Way philosophy is that when we're getting in touch with our creativity as the individual, we are in touch with existence's creativity. Like, we are here as a creative expression of the universe, and that expression wants to keep going. So individuality is part of that creative expression. We're meant to be individuals, and the individual is the one who is not divided within themselves, right? And so, for a long time, I've been a meditator since my late teens. And for a long time, my goal in meditation was to obliterate the idea of individuality and to merge with God. Okay, and that worked for a little while, but then the individual idea kept getting in the way. And I'm like, okay, so why am I in denial of my life? Why am I denying the fact that I am an individual here and that this life, I have something to say with this life? And so that spawned a whole new philosophy in me where I feel like the individual is a sacred thing. Each individual, when they're truly not divided in themselves, when they're really an individual, they're just an extension of the creativity of the universe. They're an extension, or rather, they are the next step in universal expression, in existential expression. So in order for existence to further the expression of expressing itself as us, it had to give us individuality. It had to make us feel like we're separate so that we realize, oh, this little seemingly separate thing is actually connected to this great mystery, is part of it. And my individuality is my job, my responsibility to make sure that whatever this is gets expressed before I die. Right? So the seed of the apple tree is the beginning of it. Then it has to be, that seed has to become a solitary individual tree to grow and then bear fruit. And then that fruit gets down to feed all the humans and the animals and plant new seeds and so forth. It's the same thing with us. We have the seed of genius within us. We have the seed of existential expression within us. And the only way it can go further is if we take that seed of expression, plant it in the individuality that we are, and be more of what we are rather than less. Be more of what this individual is supposed to be. The seed, the potential in it is supposed to be, rather than less. Rather than annihilating it, the individual needs to be more substantiated, knowing that the individual comes from the mystery. Okay, so it's a tricky thing here. On the one hand, an individual seems to become more and more solid as a separate thing from the universe. But when you can keep that awareness that we're living in this gigantic creative mystery, when you can keep that awareness, you can always remember, I'm part of that. Even my individuality, which I mistakenly thought was separate, even my individuality is part of existence. And the expression of that individuality is supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen. So, as you're getting closer and closer to recognizing your place in the mystery and your, I hate even saying connection to it because it seems like there's something separate that's connected to something else. So it's your kind of like integrated self with existence. The more you're in that, the things that you're going to want to create, the things that you will create, are going to be coming more and more from that mystery. And it's not about figuring them out. It's not about judging them. It's not about, making them for mass consumption necessarily. It's about this. It's normal for you to be creating things out of your individuality, which comes from the seed of existence. So hopefully this is a good way to grasp this. There is nothing wrong with you seeing yourself as a part of existence. And in fact, a lot of the things that are wrong with us, and take it from a therapist, a lot of things that are wrong with us come from our inability or kind of like reluctance to see ourselves as part of this mystery. When we isolate ourselves psychologically and spiritually in the way of like, being, I'm all alone, nobody understands me, I don't understand myself, and kind of practice all of those things of being separate, it's not easy to be creative. It's not easy to kind of move past whatever blocks you have. But if you can start to see your creativity from a place of knowing that I'm part of this mystery, I can't be anything else. It's not like the mystery's out there and then here I am. I'm just this blob that came from somewhere else. There is nowhere else. All of it is mystery. All of it is a creative flow. And we are born individually with this creative fund of expression, and it wants to be out. It wants to be expressed in the world outwardly. And again, it's not about being the greatest rock star or the greatest actor or the greatest artist. It's about putting your kind of creative spark out into the world to see what it wants to show, what it wants to be. This apple tree was planted. Who knew when it was planted who the apples were going to feed? So the apples come to me and my family. I've seen the people working on the landscaping eat some apples. I've seen some birds and squirrels eat the apples. You know, when you're creating whatever you're creating and you're putting out your existential, mysterious spark of creation into the world, you have no idea who it's going to touch. But guaranteed, when you put something out there that comes from that creative space, it's going to affect people positively because you're doing your authentic um, responsibility to continue to express the spark that was put in you at birth. Okay, so it's none of our business who our creativity touches or sparks or helps. It's none of our business. We can't plan that part. All we can do is kind of hone in on what do I have within me that wants to be expressed, because it does. It wants to. It's not that it can or it could. It wants to be expressed because we are an expression of existence, period. So creativity and expressing creativity is our nature. We can call it creativity if you want, but it's not even that. It's like, this is what we do. This is what we are. This is who we are. We are a creative expression by our nature. Okay, so we're going to take a short commercial break, and then I'm going to come back with a guided visualization to help you get closer and closer to knowing how to create with that mystery in mind, to be in touch with the mystery while you are creating whatever you create in terms of your personal, individual expression. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and then deeply exhale. Imagine seeing the beginning of your current life, starting with you as a fertilized egg inside the womb of your biological mother. See this first moment of how you're being created by the mysterious force of existence. And now, in your mind's eye, as if in fast motion, you see yourself grow inside the womb and then emerge. Take your first breath and then your first steps. See yourself growing further still through infancy, adolescence, as a teenager, and then all the way to the physical age you are today. Throughout this entire process of your growth, you may have forgotten that you began as a creative impulse from existence. But the mystery that first created you still exists within you. Looking within, try to locate the spark of mystery that has been there since you were first created. What did you find? Realize that this creative spark is actually part of your existential DNA. You were born from it, and it's still there within you. This is your genius. When you create and express with this aspect of yourself, the expression is the extension of existence itself. Allowing your genius to express is to continue the original expression that existence expressed as you. And whenever you want to create something, all you need to do is to locate that original spark of mystery that you were born from and express yourself from there. Now, with this experience fully intact in your awareness, and when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into this room. So, how was that experience for you? I hope you were able to bring up some images and some of your own material to show yourself how to get into that state of creative flow and how to get into that state where you're not the one that's doing it, the separate person, but the one that is kind of connected and part of all of this creativity that's always going on in existence. So, one of the last things I want to share with you about creativity is the ability that we need to develop to get out of the way of the creativity that's wanting to happen all by itself. And so that's one of the main efforts when you're dealing with genius is to be able to allow the genius to be there as your deeper self rather than getting in the way and trying to mentally contrive some kind of genius creative expression. And so one thing to remember is that your genius already has an entire, like I say, a fund of expressive energy. And there's a blueprint in there about what there is to express. We all have different lanes to go down. And the lane of your genius is going to be different than mine. And the way that you do what you do is going to be different than the way that I do. So the way to get in touch with that is to be able to get out of our own way. And what is the thing that gets in the way of expressing genius? It's number one, the feeling of being separate. Remember how we talked about individual doesn't mean separate? Individual means I'm no longer divided. And so I have access to all of my creative potential coming all the way back from existence, right? So the sense of separateness and the idea that I have to work and struggle to create is one of the things that gets in the way of that creative flow. So how does one get rid of that thing? So one of the ways to do that is through any kind of meditation. When we're meditating, when we kind of drop in and connect to our breath or whatever method you want to use for meditation, when you can be in that place for a minute, you can see that my mind is not creating this universe. My mind is not creating everything here. It exists independently of me. And so to meditate, to let go of the conscious or the unconscious way of trying to live, trying to maintain our lives, to kind of drop into that timeless meditation place is a way to have access to the genius that's down there, meaning our creative disposition that's kind of at a deeper level and allowing that access to come out, to emerge, and to move into a creative aspect. Okay, so it wants to do that. Your genius wants to do that. It has an agenda to do that exact thing, to express itself in a creative way that's completely in harmony with existence. And so if that's not happening with you, the only reason is that you're getting in the way of that somehow. And that's partly what my whole work is about. As a genius coach and as a therapist, I try to figure out from everything that I work with people, what is blocking that genius expression, that natural, authentic expression that people have. So, so anyway, this is a something that I hope you take into your life with you. And if you have any other questions about this, I invite you to go to thegeniusway.com. You can contact me there or find out other information about this kind of work there. Creativity is in our existential DNA. We are a creative expression of this mysterious universe. The interface between our individual selves and existence is our genius. And when we create using our genius drive, we're using the same mysterious impulse to create that existence uses to continually express everything we see around us. So the secret to being a creative person is to realize that the same intention that existence has to create and express lives in us, and it continues through what we share with the world as our individual creations and expressions. So this magnetic intention is our connection to the universe and is our birthright. The point is to recognize our connection to it and use it as we express ourselves throughout our lives. And that's our show for this week. I want to thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out with me for a while. And I really enjoy spending this time with you. And I hope to hear from you. If you want to contact me through my website, thegeniusway.com, feel free when you're there to sign up for a free membership so you get the advantage of all the stuff that I'm uploading there weekly. And until we see each other next week, I want to invite you to stay curious, be kind to yourself, and remember that your genius has something to say.
Thanks for watching The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummel. Make sure to visit thegeniusway.com for the resources you need to help you on your personal life journey. You can contact Ben at ben@thegeniusway.com. And you can follow The Genius Way with Ben Hummel on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for streaming The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummel.